Hello, hello, hello. This is episode 3 of AJ's podcast. We have a lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the new Travis Scott burger that came out, along with the Bulls head coaching position, some football news from the NFL and college in terms of what we saw over the weekend. And then we'll finish off with a new show that I'm watching called The Boys. So stick around, we'll find out. Now for your quote of the week. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. So simply, it's just don't be an asshole to your friends, because if they're good friends to you, then you should be treating them like a good friend. So I hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. I know I did. I got a new haircut. Got faded up a little bit. My man Phelps got me a good lineup right before the weekend, and I went on a little cabin trip. Did a lot of cool stuff. Went floating and hiking. My lake got destroyed by the weeds and plants, so that was fun. And I got to shoot a gun for the first time. Yep, I shot a 12-gauge shotgun, and I shot some clay pigeons, which are like little discs that they fling in the air, and then you have to aim and shoot them. After like 10 tries, I was able to finally get one, so that was cool. And kind of starting things off with the first topic is the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, is now ending in 2021. They will launch their final season that year, and they've been around for 14 years or 20 seasons and hundreds of episodes. The reason they could be canceling is maybe they just thought the time was right. It could be for other TV interests, so the family's getting bigger, so it's hard for them to get film all together. Personally, I didn't watch the show. I think it's garbage TV. I mean, I guess I have no room to talk since I like to watch shows like The Bachelor, and that's kind of scripted and a little bit of garbage, but at least it was entertaining. Maybe this show is entertaining other people as well. And I just also don't think these people are the best role models for impressionable teens, since, you know, they've got a weird history and they kind of not known to have much talent besides being really rich. So I just didn't really find them very appealing to watch. But I do respect the hustle though. They seem to seize any opportunity to make money. So congrats to them. So going on to the next topic is, speaking of the Kardashians, Travis Scott, who is, I believe, married to Kylie Jenner, or that I know they at least have a baby. He released a promo featuring his own burger at McDonald's called the Travis Scott Burger. In the promo, he's like a talking action figure, and he kind of shows off his new meal. I mean, it's literally just a burger with bacon. It's no different than like a regular Wendy's Baconator. I mean, excuse me, there's shredded lettuce, and because that's just how Cactus Jack likes it. I mean, it's obvious the meal is targeted towards young millennials and Gen Zs. I don't blame them. I mean, that demographic is being taken over by other fast food restaurants like food trucks, fermented and plant-based foods, and like kind of these more savvy, friendly food choices. I mean, the memes are hilarious. Like, I can just imagine like these kids going out to McDonald's just freaking harassing these drive-thru workers. Hi, welcome to McDonald's. How may I take your order? Hey, renegade. Yo, what's up? Cactus Jack sent me. I like to have the Travis Scott burger. Hold the onions, but add extra side of slime. How did you just say to me? Yeah, I can only imagine what they do to them in these drive-thrus. So going into sports, the Bulls are interested in finding a new head coach since firing their old one. In April, hired Arturas Cardenas as the executive VP of basketball operations and Mark Eversley as the GM. In August, head coach Jim Boylen was fired. There's rumors that there's interest in former head coach for OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder, Billy Donovan. Just to kind of give you a brief rundown who Donovan is, during his college years, he coached the Florida Gators, and he led the Gators to back-to-back NCAA championships and four Final Four appearances. First year of OKC, he led the Thunder to the conference playoffs, and this year they led them to the first round play. They weren't projected to make it early in the season. He was also nominated for Coach of the Year for the NBA. Bulls are definitely defensively solid. They were 14th in points allowed this season, but Donovan can definitely improve that because OKC was 17th overall. And the Bulls offense, they definitely need some help, so he can definitely improve that as well. What I like he's done a lot with lesser talent because he's had players like James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant leave, and he's still able to take the OKC to the playoffs. I mean, Chris Paul, who currently plays for OKC, he's great, but he's not going to put up 25 plus points on a consistent basis. He's more of a point guard that facilitates the game. So he's more of a true point guard. I like this option if he's a true candidate because he also has experience with young talent as well at the college and NBA level. Mentioning those NBA stars, he's helped a lot of college stars progress. I mean, there's lots of young talent in the Bulls. You got Zach LaVine, Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White, and Lauri Markkanen, who's one of my favorite players in the Bulls. He also has the Bulls have the 4th pick in the draft this year, so definitely a lot of opportunity in terms of young talent. If he is a true candidate, I just like his true experience. I mean, he turns teams with little talent to playoff teams. He's worked with some of the best players in the league, and he keeps both sides of the court consistently efficient. I mean, that's kind of a problem with the Bulls. They're very inconsistent, especially in the fourth quarter where they definitely allow a lot of points. And teams like Philadelphia, New Orleans, and Indiana, they're most likely showing interest for him, so Bulls kind of need to act quick if they're going to pursue him. I mean, I swear to God, knowing the Bulls, they're going to do the most stupidest plan ever. It'd be something like this. Breaking news. Bulls hire United Center 20-year veteran custodian Janitor Joe to be the new head coach for the Chicago Bulls. Janitor Joe became the top choice after recommending drafting LaMelo Ball with the 4th pick. Will Janitor Joe sweep the Eastern Conference next season? Find out more. Yeah, it's going to be something like that most likely. So now we get to go to college football. I mean, I was skeptical about starting the season. I would prefer the players to start in the spring, but from looks of it, I think they're in the right direction in keeping players safe. So kind of going over some top games that I watched and an overview of what I saw throughout the week. Duke played at Notre Dame. Notre Dame won 13-27. Their running back, Kyron Williams, killed it with 2 rushing TDs and 93 receiving yards, so definitely a multi-purpose game for him. Ian Brook, the starting quarterback, he had a subpar game. As a 4th-year starter, I kind of expect a little bit more, but he's still no scrub. He had 1 TD, 263 yards with 1 interception, but overall, he's 21-3 as a starter, so he definitely helps win games in a way. I mean, one play that I liked particularly that he did was a double fake action play that he did for a 20-yard pass that pretty much brought the Fighting Irish down to the 1-yard line. So that was a good play by him. And going to Duke's side, their quarterback Chase Bryce had a good first quarter. He had 100-plus yards and led them to a field goal to put some points on the board first. And he brought it down to a rushing TD in the 3rd quarter, so good for him. Duke was 4 for 15 on 3rd down conversions, which are key moments where you need to bring the ball down and keep the offense alive. So that definitely played a role in how they lost that game. Not a big win statement for Duke, but it was still a tough team. I mean, Notre Dame has shown, in my opinion, that they can be the second best ACC team this season. So I like to see what they have in store. And then to the Iowa State game. Honestly, it was a mess. I was blown away by how this game went. So Iowa State played University of Louisiana at Iowa State. The score was 31-14. Pretty much, special teams sucks ass. They allowed 2 returning TDs, 1 punt return TD and 1 kick return TD. It's ridiculous. I mean, ISU offense was having trouble. I mean, they couldn't catch any passes. Some drop passes, some overthrown passes from their quarterback, Brock Purdy. The run game was good. It was decent. Brees Hill had a 19-yard run for a TD in the 2nd quarter, and he had a total of 103 rushing yards. I didn't have a problem with defense. They stepped up in the first half. They had 2 sacks, and they allowed less than 130 yards at halftime. So I didn't have a problem with the defense in the first half at least. And back to Brock Purdy, the starting quarterback, I just kind of expect more from this year. Last year, he was a top 10 nationally in passing yards in college. So I expect him to have more of an improvement being that top 10 tier again. I mean, some of the throws they were making wasn't good. As mentioned, there's some overthrows, and when he's not doing that, he's extending plays too long to try to go for a deep throw, which you can't really throw to these receivers. These receivers are not, advanced enough to catch those tight window deep throws that he wants to do. I think he just needs to throw away the ball a little bit more rather than try to make some gamble throws. I mean, sure, you're not getting any yards, but it's better than getting picked off because he did have an interception or two in that game. So he needs to make smarter decisions, and the receivers need to step their game because it was ridiculous to watch. Defense, as I mentioned, not a problem with them, but the only problem I had was they gave up a TD in the last drive, but it's fine. They just got to keep it up and stay consistent in the last half, and offense needs to just do their part because that was fucking embarrassing, honestly. I also watched the Clemson game. I wanted to see Trevor Lawrence showcase his talents against Wake Forest. Clemson played at Wake Forest. The final score was 37-13. Trevor Lawrence, he's the quarterback for the Clemson Tigers. He's projected to be the number 1 QB and overall pick in the 2021 draft. Pretty decent game. He threw 78% on his passes. That's 22 for 28. 1 TD, pass TD, and then 2 rush TDs. And then the running back, Travis Etienne, who could be a contender for the Heisman Trophy along with Trevor Lawrence, he had a good night. 6 yards per carry with 102 yards and a TD. Defense was shutting Wake Forest out. I mean, they didn't even score a point until the third quarter, I believe. Last half, Wake Forest scored 13 points on, but it wasn't a big deal because Clemson was already up by double-digit numbers. I mean, Clemson is still the national title contender. I sense a little slip in the defense, but I'm just kind of nitpicking because I just need to find something wrong with them. I mean, Wake Forest was an 8-5 team last year in an FBS conference, which is the ACC. So it would be a different story if this was the score for like a different, smaller school for sure. Some other games that I watched, Sam Ehlinger from Texas was hot. He threw 75% of his passes were complete. He had 5 passing TDs. Texas defense was marginally better than I expected. They only allowed 3 points. I mean, sure, they played UTEP, which is a really small school, but Texas defense could be marginally better overall this year. That was kind of the big problems last year. Texas Longhorns won 3-57, so definitely a big statement in the Big 12 conference. And sticking with the Big 12, we got to see top high school recruit Spencer Rattler do his debut start for the Oklahoma Sooners. He did pretty good. 4 TDs, 80% of his passes were completed on 17 attempts. He had a pretty good deep ball. He had a 53-yard pass for a TD. Sooners had an improvement in defense as well. They shut out Missouri State 0-48. That was the score. They didn't allow a single point, and the Sooners got 48 points on them. So right now, I'm looking at Texas and Oklahoma being the Big 12 title contenders. I mean, not seeing that much from Iowa State, but who knows? Iowa State has a bye week, and hopefully they'll step their game up and get their shit together in week 2 against TCU. Now that we've gone over college football, I'd like to discuss week 1 of the NFL. So kind of starting off with a couple games I watched very closely. Let's go with the Thursday night game, Houston versus Kansas City. Kansas City beat Houston by 20-34. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, he played more of a hero ball, but he started to gain momentum towards the fourth quarter after that interception. I mean, it's obviously the linemen are not really protecting him as usual. He had 4 sacks that game, but decent numbers, 253 yards, a touchdown, interception. Mahomes did what you expect. He just played like the best player in the league. 122 passer rating, which was 3 TDs, 75% passing completion, 211 yards. He's starting to become less of a gunslinger and kind of more efficient, and I think Andy Reid mentioned that he's liking that now. So he's making more calculated throws and avoiding the interceptions, which wasn't really a problem to begin with. Chiefs defense did a real good job of containing Watson in the first half. They knew if they let him get the opportunity, he will get hot and he will go off. And then the first round pick from LSU, running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire, balled out in his debut. He had 138 yards with a TD. Chiefs utilized the run game more than usual this time, and they used it to pretty much control the time of the game. They had a lot more time possession than the Texans did. J.J. Watt from Texans applied some pressure on Mahomes, but Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins are available for those quick side passes before J.J. can get his hands on Mahomes. And then the interception that Deshaun got, that was intercepted by L'Jarius Sneed, who, thanks to Honey Badger, was able to apply that QB pressure on him and was able to catch that pick. Watson is still great in my opinion. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. He just needs more help in the O-line. He doesn't really have much to throw to either. He only has Will Fuller, but he needs more than that. I mean, Bill O'Brien freaking gave away DeAndre Hopkins for what's his face? David Johnson. And David Johnson did okay, but he wasn't worth DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, it's not that complicated. Chiefs are still a Super Bowl contender, and if they keep this run game up, they could be a real deep threat for anybody. Then I also watched the Cardinals play the 49ers. The Cardinals actually upsetted them by beating them 24-20. Kyler Murray, the quarterback, was struggling a little bit, especially in the second quarter. He got a pick. And Jimmy G from the 49ers was showing some eliteness. He had a TD and 158 yards going into the first half. So that's about 125 passer rating. Rasheem Mostert was killing it. In the first half, he had 28 rushing yards and 81 receiving yards. And one of those receiving yards was a 76-yard pass for a touchdown. And FYI, he's on my fantasy team, so I was real happy when he got that touchdown. Cardinals defense. Actually, let's talk about the first round pick, Isaiah Simmons for the Cardinals. I think he could be the missing piece on the defensive side of the ball. He showed some promise. He had 2 tackles as a linebacker in the first half, and he's so athletic. He can cover almost any position, and he's played more than just linebacker. He's just real flexible. He's like a Swiss Army knife in defense. So hopefully the Arizona Cardinals can utilize him, which I think they did actually. The Cardinals defense came up clutch in the final drive of the game. Unfortunately, the 49ers couldn't score when they were down in the fourth quarter. And once they stopped that fourth down conversion, Cardinals gained possession and won the game. So props to them. And I think why the Cardinals won, as I mentioned, there's that missing piece on defense. The defense came up. Historically, 49ers have had trouble stopping Kyler Murray, and I think it has to do with how mobile he is. I mean, he's really short, but he knows how to use his legs. I'm not talking about in a sense of like running like Lamar Jackson, but just evading the sack. And it's kind of like Russell Wilson, and 49ers have trouble playing against Russell Wilson too. I mean, Kyler didn't really have the best pass performance. Yeah, he avoids the sack, but he had a pretty good rush. He rushed for 93 yards, which included a TD. In the fourth quarter, that pretty much shifted the momentum of the game. So props to him for stepping up in the fourth quarter. Arizona next week will play the Washington football team. It's just so funny to say. I see memes where it's like, all right, here's us in the huddle. All right, football team on 3. 1, 2, 3, football team. It's like, I can't really get pumped up on that sort of name. And the 49ers will play the New York Jets, so I'm pretty sure they'll beat them too. Then let's talk about the game of Green Bay at Minnesota. I mean, first things first, before I mention Aaron Rodgers, he's a bad man. Woo! 4 TDs and 364 yards with 72 completion. Aaron Rodgers is pretty much the master of free plays too. If you get that flag pulled on you, he'll make you regret it and lob that ball deep, or at least get 10-plus yards off that pass. I mean, him and Devontae Adams are still an elite duo. He threw 2 TD passes to him, one to Marquise Valdes-Scantling, and then even one to Allen Lazard, who's a former Iowa State player. I can't really say that it was all thanks to the offense. Unfortunately, the Vikings had a rookie corner, so he just pretty much got eaten alive, and Aaron Rodgers knew that he needed to expose him. Packers possessed the ball for so long, especially in the first half. They're just making it difficult for the Vikings to have a chance to actually get a touchdown. In the first half, the Vikings had 7 minutes of total possession, and the Packers had 22 minutes. So it's real hard to work with that when you have such little time. One thing I noticed, especially in the first quarter, Packers still struggle a little bit in red zone offense. It probably doesn't help that Rodgers isn't as mobile as he used to be, but they'll work something out, I think. Packers defense wasn't too bad. They just need to stay a little consistent in the last half. They allowed 24 points in the fourth quarter, which that doesn't slide well. But other than that, they were fine. They just need to stay consistent. Then I'll mention the Vikings quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He started picking up momentum in the fourth quarter. He had 2 TD passes to Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook, the running back, he racked up 2 TDs too. So I don't think the Vikings are that bad of a team. It was just a bad day, I think. Next week, Packers will play Detroit and most likely beat them. And Minnesota will go to Indianapolis and most likely beat them too. And then kind of a brief rundown of the other games. Bears played the Lions. Notre basically stepped up in the last half. He had 3 TDs in the last half. I lost hope for him in the first half. I thought they were going to put Nick Foles in, but he proved me wrong. But I need to see more from Jeff Okudah, who was the first-round pick for the Detroit Lions, because they don't. I believe he's a rookie cornerback, and I need to see more of him to kind of solidify their pick. Then going to Indianapolis, rookie running back, Jonathan Taylor had a multi-purpose day. He had 22 rushing yards and 67 receiving. The Indianapolis Colts played played Jacksonville, and they lost to the Colts. Gardner Minshew, the quarterback, he played good, 3 TDs. I hope the Jaguars aren't tanking for Trevor Lawrence, as some people are speculating. Then going on to the Bills versus the Jets. The Bills beat the Jets. Josh Allen, the quarterback, went off. He had 3 TDs in the first half, and I started him on fantasy. So 27 points for me. Then the Ravens beat the Browns. No shocker in my opinion. Lamar Jackson is actually getting pretty comfortable passing. He didn't really have any, he's usually known to like run and get some yards, but he had some good passing yards. And then there was the Eagles game against the Washington football team. I was a little disappointed in quarterback Carson Wentz. I respect him. I think he is a top 10 quarterback, and he just had a disappointing second half. He had 2 picks and no points, but he has really no elite players to throw to except Zach Ertz. His other receivers like Alshon Jeffrey are hurt, and he got sacked 8 times. So 2 of those sacks I think were his fault, but the remaining was just come from the O-line. They had blown protection, and the pocket collapsed multiple times, and they just couldn't really protect Wentz. And they need to, because he's very injury prone. At the same time, he needs to learn to protect himself and just kind of throw the ball away if he knows the play is not going to work. Going to the Raiders-Panthers game, the Raiders beat the Panthers, and second-year running back Josh Jacobs, he was a beast. He had 3 total TDs, and I hope he stays healthy. I mean, honestly, he should have been offensive rookie of the year last year, but Kyler Murray got it instead, which I understand. I mean, the quarterback position is kind of more of a spotlight position versus the running back, but I think Josh Jacobs got snubbed. Going to the Seahawks versus the Falcons, Russell Wilson, the quarterback, elite as always. I think he's probably the second or third best quarterback in the league right now. He had 4 TDs and 322 yards. But Matt Ryan from the Falcons, he torched the defense, the pass defense at least. He had 2 TDs and 434 yards. So Seahawks probably had to kind of make some adjustments on the pass defense. Then going to the Patriots versus the Dolphins game, Cam Newton had a good debut. He had 2 rushing TDs and 100 in passer rating and no interceptions. He was 15 for 19th in passing, so he held on the ball and protected it pretty well. New England defense gave Ryan Fitzpatrick a hard time. He's a quarterback for the Dolphins. He threw 3 picks. So I'm curious if Ryan keeps, if he doesn't play well, I wonder if they're going to put in Tua Tagovailoa and as the new starter. I mean, I personally would want to keep him on the bench because he's a really great prospect. I think he's either the first or second best quarterback in his draft class. But he has that injury history, and I just want to I would want to make sure he's fully healed before putting him in the game. Then the Bengals played the LA Chargers, and they lost. But it was a pretty decent game for Joe Burrow, who's the rookie quarterback. He was actually the first overall pick. The O-line allowed 3 sacks in the first half, as I expected from the Bengals. Joe Burrow threw a pick, and it's okay. And Tyrod Taylor, the quarterback for the LA Chargers, he outplayed him, but it wasn't a marginal difference. That's just because he has more experience than Joe Burrow. Tyrod Taylor has played in the league for a couple of years, and he's even played in the playoffs with the Bills, I believe. I think it was a decent debut for him. He had that rushing TD, and I think that kind of gave hope for Bengals fans. I don't expect him to just be torching everybody like Andrew Luck did when he first came into the league. He just needs some practice. I mean, he's in a very difficult situation. I think he's learning really quickly, and his teammates like him. He'll be fine. So no need to sell him out short. And he'll probably play better next week. I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say he might throw 2 TD passes next week. And then I also watched the Tampa Buccaneers play the New Orleans Saints. It was a decent debut for Tom Brady as the new quarterback for the Buccaneers. 3 TDs. One of them was, I think, 1 or 2 of them was a rushing TD. And then he had 2 interceptions, which I think were his fault. Even Bruce Arians said that his receivers ran the correct route, so it's all right. I mean, he's still getting used to the scheme and getting used to his new teammates, but his teammates kind of need to show a little more sense of urgency. Tom Brady's a very demanding person, and he does not like mistakes. He does not like losing either. He's very obsessive in the game of football. In terms of Drew Brees' performance, I think he played okay. I mean, he was just doing his job, nothing extraordinary. Alvin Kamara balled out. He's the running back for the Saints, so he did pretty good. So now I got sports out of the way. I kind of want to go on a miscellaneous topic that I want to talk about. So I've been watching a new season of a show I've been watching called The Boys. So going into this show, ever heard of the quote, "Never meet your heroes"? This show exemplifies that perfectly. So this is a show where there's a world where there's actual superheroes, and these superheroes are breeded to be these heroes since birth, and they become part of a $1 billion entertainment industry called VOT. VOT has a team of the most powerful superheroes or popular heroes, and they call them the Seven. There's 7 in their group, and they exploit their superpowers for public image, movies, and merchandise. I mean, does that kind of sound familiar to you? It kind of does to me. In this world, the heroes are actually sociopaths, and they abuse their powers and fame for their own personal interests and kind of feed into their ego. And they kill innocent people, and knowing that VOT, their company, will cover it up. It's crazy. And because these heroes are so corrupt, they have wrong groups of human individuals, and these individuals formed an anti-hero team called The Boys. The second season focuses on super terrorists, and introducing new members of the Seven, one with a mysterious past. And then the main character, Billy Butcher, he's on a mission to save someone. I don't want to spoil any details, but that's kind of the premise of the second season. I mean, this show is very refreshing. I mean, it's a completely different take than like Marvel or DC movie. It's different from Marvel because it's a lot darker, and it kind of makes fun of it a little bit. And it's different from DC because the story is actually just better. I mean, they're better written characters, I think, and better stories. And it's produced by Seth Rogen. So it's a big TV budget show with some awesome special effects, a lot of action, gore, and lots of themes that apply to what's going on today. I mean, these heroes are constantly being watched and told what to wear and say by their company VOT. And the cameras and paparazzis are constantly on them. You feel for them because they have emotions too, like humans, and the stress and pressure gets to them. I mean, one hero, he has like super speed. He was losing his touch, his popularity, so he had to take this drug to enhance his powers. I mean, eventually he develops an addiction. So it just shows you what the fame can do to you. Many characters learn to discover themselves and learn that they're more than just people with superpowers, or they're more than just sidekicks or side characters. So there's a lot of character development in this show. And one theme is revenge is a nasty thing. Members of the boys realize that how much they've lost or could lose pursuing this path on revenge against Vought and the Seven. And then another thing that I saw was Vought was under publicity fire, and they used a super terrorist occurrence to cover up their fire by trying to be the good guys and rebuild their image. I see this very similar to how large corporations are under huge fire and they find something to cover up or distract the public from their fire. I mean, same with like the government too, I think. And what I like most is this show is like a big FU to like these superhero movies that Marvel and DC produce. It's like the most realistic depiction of what a world would be like with superhumans. Story's great. You always want more after the show. And like as I mentioned, the budget is so high. It's like watching hour-long movies. I think there's 10 episodes to a season, so you're really watching 10 full feature-length movies in a way. I mean, if you want to watch this show, I recommend it if you're into superhero movies or action movies. It's on Amazon. If you have an Amazon Prime, you can watch it on Prime Video. So check it out. First season's already out, so you can catch up. And they release new episodes of the second season weekly. Well, that is episode 3. I'm glad this turned out pretty good. I'm feeling more confident in the camera, and I'm liking my topics. I'm getting used to the whole process of researching and learning how to minimize time when editing my videos. So I'm liking the direction this show is going, and hopefully everyone had a great Labor Day weekend, as I mentioned before. I mean, I'm excited for the weekend. I'm actually gonna go home to my hometown, so I'm excited to see some family, and if I see anybody out there, I'll make sure I say hi. So stick around for the following weeks. I'll be posting same time. About 2 weeks from now, I'll have my next video, and kind of the same deal. I'm gonna have some football, some basketball, pretty much anything sports that I think is notable to mention. Of course, I'll start mentioning some more miscellaneous topics. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and if you're on social media, share my video as well. Appreciate the support, and I'll talk to you guys later.